Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After our first ever baseball game on the channel last night, today we're going to move into something very different. We're going to move back to the skies over World War II Europe as we play Skies Above the Reich from GMT Games. In this game, we're playing a squadron of German fighters over the skies of World War II Germany, trying to break up the dreaded American box formations. We'll be doing that over a series of campaigns, but I'm only going to play this first mission for the time being, just to kind of get the feel for how everything feels on the channel. But with that very small introduction, let's go ahead and meet our squadron. For the time being, at least, we're going to start off with a short campaign that starts in 1942, and we'll take a look at our first situation map. So we've got our pilots. As part of the campaign, we start with 6 expert pilots, and I've designated the first 6 for this mission. So Adamite, and we'll meet them when we move over toward the board, is going to start off with the timing skill, where we add a damage result to the attack result. Then Bauer has an aim skill, which if he gets a damage result, he draws and applies 2 damage markers, and we can use these once per mission. BA is a break anywhere. Break away to any return box without continuing fire. That'll make more sense when we get into the game later. Dahl comes with an L. Luck lets him ignore 1 hit. Freeling has another timing result, and Grimm gives us aim. And those are actually the pilots we'll be taking out on this first mission. But now we can move over to the board and take a look at our first mission. Our first mission in this campaign is involving Formation Map 1, which depicts 2 bombing formations. We're actually going to be using the odd formation down here, and we've got 2 of our bombers already damaged. We've got a fuselage hit, and what had been an engine hit. When I rolled for the catastrophic effect, it came up as lower than the 5 that we needed to apply the catastrophic effect. We might be able to see over here, we've got 3 tactical points, which can be used during the mission. I've got the mission turn counter here. That'll go on turn 1 when we actually start. We have 8 turns to fly this mission, and our escort is going to be the U.S. Thunderbirds that we're going to have to deal with. And I believe those will come through in... Those arrive on turn 3 of the mission. So I was just noting that there. Looking at the shot here, I think everything looks pretty much good to go. So I'll probably be living in rulebooks for a lot of this game, but let's jump in and see what we've got going on here. For mission 1, we get to put our fighters in. We get to put our fighters in any low approach box. They'll be represented by these blocks that I have here. I think we're going to split them up a little bit. So I'm going to put Adamite and I'm just going to refresh my memory on my skills. I'm going to put Adamite and Dahl in the low oblique approach. That will dictate what type of attack I draw for. I'll put Grimm and Bauer in low nose, and we'll put Clad and Frailing in low tail. Then we go through return, where anybody would have to leave the return box. Escort phase is not a problem there. I'll set the advantages there. So I actually have the reminders of those. Recovery, nobody's been hit. Blast and flak, we're not going to have to worry about that because also as part of the mission, we rolled for blast and flak when we were setting up the mission, and we got no flak to worry about. Cohesion check, I believe these happen only elements with markers CD on the trifold player aid. Here we are. Check only if each... Okay, add the number of markers to make a sum, roll 2. Roll it. So we get a 2, which means we have to roll 1d10. If it's less than this, less than that, cohesion improves or remains the same. But we want to see it be equal to or less than it degrades 1 level. That's a 2, so actually element cohesion degrades 1 level. Which means the element was in Wait, oh, we check each element. Or present in the element. So we check this one, which means cohesion stays the same, I believe, and... actually, hold on. Only if one or more markers are present. Oh, so we check each, the number of markers. So, and for each, so I believe the damage markers stay there. The fuselage would flip over into a 1 hit. And then for this one, that's a 6, so everything stays in good order. All right, and so for turn 2, now we actually have the option to get to attack. So now we have a move option available to us. Each fighter may move once from one box to another. Okay, so now we have an option here. So we're actually going to go for an attack run. Everybody's going to be determined because I want to try. I should have mentioned that earlier, but each fighter will actually have 2 sides. If they're on the name side, they're determined. If they're on the evasive side, then they'll be evasive, which will affect how they return. But I think everybody's going to start off determined for the time being. So we're going to attack. We're going to send everybody to attack. And I think I want to go for the elements that already have damage on them. So we're going to... So I'm going to attack this element. And I'm going to send Freeling and Claude after this one. And we've got to have Grimm and Bauer attack from the nose. I think we'll have them attack this element. So we have to draw attack cards for each one of them. That's during the move phase. Then we'd have return, nothing happens there. Escort, the escort isn't due to arrive until next turn. Recovery we don't have there. No flak there. Cohesion would happen during the... cohesion... I've probably shortcutted this, but... Right, so cohesion, we check for that. We'll check for this element first. I just put the D10 out of shot, so a 1. Doesn't do anything to that element. For this one, a 6 also stays the same. So now we have our first attack. Here we go. So I shifted the fighters already from the approach box to spaces in the bomber formation. I'm going to look up out of the sun. I don't think that matters for us. If the fighter approached from an approach box connected to a position box containing the sun, which we didn't, because it might be hard to see, but the sun's actually up at this top flank from 2 to 4 o'clock. Nobody approached from there, so we don't have to worry about that. We do have a couple of advantage markers that we get to work with, though, because we have rote advantages. I believe those are once per mission, but I could be wrong. Attack advantage. It's been a while since I played Skies Above the Reich, so I apologize if I'm going to be living in rules once again. At the end of the engage step, after collisions, then we check for if our fighters earn attack elements. Okay, so we have to check for... So in the attack step, we approached already, we engaged. We have to make collision checks, draw a proximity marker for each space with 2 or more fighters in it. So we're checking for... Actually, we're checking for all of them. So Bauer and Grimm up first. We'll draw a proximity marker out of the proximity chit cup. And we'll find that they have no impact. Looking for Claude and Freeling. Also no impact, so we're actually on the engage step right now. Then for Doll and Adamite, proximity, we get a hit. So now I got to figure out what happens with that. I believe if the fighter's in evasive mode, nope, flip the proximity over. Wait, we have to check for each fighter. For each space that has 2 or more fighters, draw a proximity marker and attach it to one of the fighters. So no collision. Oh, it will introduce cohesion checks. So the 2 no impacts, we'll just draw those 2 out because we had 2 no impacts, so that will stay during that. But one of our fighters in evasive mode, treat it as no collision, put it back in the cup. But if we're determined, flip it over and attach it to the fighter. So we'll attach it. Hold on, we have to roll. I thought we only had to roll that for each space. Place it on one of the fighters. Okay, so we'll place that on. Where's the die? Odds will place it on Doll. Evens will place it on Adamite. Evens will place it on Adamite. So he's got a hit marker on him now, which is very fortunate. Actually, even... Oh, that was a hit. Okay, so we don't draw for the collision. We do check for the attack advantage after this. Did Adamite have... No, Adamite had the timing skill. Okay, so now we're into the burst step, which means we'll be drawing... Actually, we check for attack advantages at the end of the engage step. So now we've got some advantages. We've got a road advantage here for Bauer and Grimm. A road here. And I believe a... Yes, I believe... Yeah, I believe we get a road advantage for Doll and Adamite as well. The hit marker won't come into play until later. So now I'll draw attack markers for each of our... I believe it's an attack card for each fighter, depending on the position that we're at. Corresponding to the fighter's position. I'm just double checking. Resolve your fighter's attacks one fighter at a time. So we'll be drawing based on each fighter. So Bauer will get a nose attack card at a lethality level of 2, and that'll make more sense when we flip over the card. So based on the level, based on the lethality level, which in this case is a 2 and an altitude low, what does the number mean? I need to refresh my memory on that. Pass through. The number of spaces the fighter has to move. Oh, we forgot to assign maneuvers as well. Let me reshuffle that in. I believe we assign maneuvers first. I remember something about that, but I don't... Oh yes, we select maneuvers after we do collision checks. So I can determine where I want the fighters to break away. So I'm just giving the nose card a shuffle. And we'll give that a cut. So I can assign maneuvers to each fighter. I think everybody's going to climb. The question is, I want to send some of them into the sun. So I'm going to have, I think I'm going to have Bauer climb. Bauer go for a straight climb to move to flank. Grimm will go for a straight climb as well. I'm going to give Claude a climb as well. So those three are going to be moving to the flank after this step's over. Freeling, I'm going to give a roll climb. Actually, I'm going to give the other three all roll climb maneuvers, as all 3 roll climb maneuvers. Okay, we've set up the advantages as well. Now we draw attack cards, so we're drawing for Bauer's attack first. His attack will give us, looking for lethality 2 and low. So Bauer's got to draw a hit marker, but he'll get a damage marker, which we could use the rote advantage to cancel that out. And I think I will, actually, he's got, if damage result, which we will have, we can spend that as well. I think we'll just eat the hit on that one, and then we'll draw a damage result. So the hit for Bauer. That's an engine hit. That's a big problem. But we get a damage marker out for that bomber. That'll be an engine marker, which we'll check for the catastrophic effect immediately to see if the bomber falls out of formation. We want that to be an 8 or, I believe, higher. Let me just double check that. Where are the... here we are. Roll that number or higher to trigger the catastrophe effect. So we want an 8 or higher. That's a 4, so we just flip that over to another damage marker. But that'll introduce problems for the cohesion check. All right, that's it for Bauer's attack. Now we have, who is that? That's Grimm's attack. So let's see what happens here. This is Grimm getting another nose attack. Lethality 2, he's low. He gets a hit marker as well. His will be a fuselage hit with an 8, also going to be a problem. Actually, we're going to spend the road advantage to cancel that one out. Technically, I think we'd have to decide... I think we'd have to spend the advantage before we draw the hit marker, but I'm going to rule for this, for the time being, that we don't. So, yeah. Then they have to move 1 back, I believe. So he has to move 1. Actually, they both have to move 1. And then they'll be breaking off later. So their attacks are done. Now for Clad next. He's going to be attacking from the tail. The lethality there is also... The lethal level there is also 2, I believe. Of course, I covered up the number I need. Where is... Oh, yeah, it is a 2. It's just hard to see. So an attack marker from the tail. 2, tail, and low. What are the double colors? I didn't remember those. Oh, determined versus evasive mode. So yeah, he got a hit. Okay. So we're in determined mode. That's what that's for. So in determined mode low, he gets 2 hits, but he's going to get a damage as well. No pass-through on that one. So he draws 2 hits, which we may need to spend the road advantage to cancel that out. And I think I will. I think I'll spend the road to cancel one of those hits. So we only get 1 hit. That'll be a cockpit marker on a 5. That's a tail card, so that should go to the tail discard pile. Last up for that element, we're rolling for Freeling. Oh, I believe they also... Yep, we also got a damage marker for that element. which is a fuselage hit, but it doesn't have a catastrophic effect. So we just flip that over to a 1 and place that on the element. So now we have Freeling's hit, which is once again a lethality level 2 from the tail. In determined mode, he's going to take a hit as well. Yep, that was a tail hit. All right, so he's going to take a hit as well. Which will be another fuselage hit. Fortunately, no pass-through there, though. And then looking at the element down here, we've got Dull and Adamite both going for oblique hits. So let's see what we find here. The lethality level here is a 2 as well. So let's see what we get here. Lethality level 2, determined. He's going to take a hit. That's going to be a wing hit with a 6. That'll make more sense later. And then Adamite also with an oblique hit at a lethality level 2. Too low. And I think we are going to spend the rote advantage to cancel that hit. And as we break away, get ready to break away, I believe it's 1 continuing fire for all of them. Select a fighter in a space. Oh, so it looks like we have to draw for every fighter. Okay. So we'll just work from top to bottom, left to right. So Clad gets a continuing fire. He will find continuing fire, I believe, at the so a green pilot, he's not green. He's at lethality level 2. He doesn't take a hit because he's determined. And then he breaks. And then he breaks away. Actually, lethal space is 4. But because he's... Okay, so it's 2, but because he's low, it increases to 3. What? Noted on page 41. Hold on. Okay, didn't see any modifications there, so we're not... Wait. Modifications... Yeah, no, I don't see anything here for that. So Clad is going to be a 2, which means he won't take a hit. He's not green, so we just break away. And we said he was going to be climbing, which will bring him to... Okay, so when he breaks away, he returns to... After continuing fire, each formation breaks away. He breaks away to the return or evasive box connected. So he was climbing, which means he'll break away to the flank at the high. Before we continue with continuing fire, I need to take a small break. Next up, we have continuing fire for Freeling, so let's see what happens to him. Pull away. If climbing or climb rolling, draw another card, which we're roll climbing, so we'll draw another card. Ignore its event text, but apply hits from both cards, if any. Yikes. So he is taking a hit, but we draw another continuing fire card. So he doesn't take another hit. But we ignore the event text there. So he's going to draw another hit marker. Which means now he's got a wing hit as well to deal with. And then since he was roll climbing, he'll break away to a tail high box. And I'll start pulling the maneuvers back. We're definitely going to have a lot of hit markers to roll for here. Next up we have Grim, who's going to get a continuing fire card. Debris. Roll a die. If even, place a damage marker on the nearest bomber. If odd, the fighter is hit. Draw a hit marker and we may not cancel that. So we need the die here to go into the dice tower. We said if even, place a damage marker on the nearest bomber. If odd, the fighter's hit again. So actually, Grim would take his first hit. This could end up being a short mission if I'm getting all of my pilots hit. Yikes, that's another big hit. Alright, so he's actually taking a second hit as well because of the hit in the continuing fire box at lethality level 2. Another fuselage hit. Good grief. And we said he was just climbing, so he just goes to the flank, which means the maneuver will come back. This might be a short patrol because damaged fighters won't be able to move during the move step. Right? The fighters with hit markers may not move. Fighters in return or evasive return boxes may not move. Okay. Next we need to draw a continuing fire card for Bauer. Let's see what happens for him. He gets hit again after continuing fire. If diving or dive rolling, which we're not. If an escort marker is in the below trailing station, it attacks this fighter. Afterwards, if not exiting or dogfighting, fighter breaks away to tail, evasive return, and escort to below trailing station. The escort isn't here yet, and we're not diving or dive rolling, but we do take another hit anyway. Back into the hit cup we go. Fuselage marker. Yikes. So now he'll climb and break away to the flank directly across from him. As I drop the climb chit on the floor. Next up, we're going to draw a continuing fire for Dahl. Let's see what happens here. He's not going to get hit because he's determined and he's not green. So we're just going to break away. So he's going to break away to the nose high. And we'll pull that back. And finally, for Adamite's continuing fire. Roll debris again. Roll a die. If even, damage marker on the nearest bomber. If odd, the fighter's hit again. Odd, so he gets hit again. Actually, he's going to get hit twice because he's going to get hit twice. One for the debris and one because of the continuing fire. So I'm just going to draw 2 hit markers because that'll be the easiest thing to do. And we've got 2 pretty severe hits. Yowza. Probably should have went into a little bit easier to deal with. He's going to break away to the tail. That's going to be fun. Okay, that's it for turn 2. Move turn 3. None of our fighters are able to move because they all have hit markers in their... because they all have hit markers on them. That's great. Return fighters. Return, we all have to leave our return boxes, so we're going to move to high. High. I was hoping to take advantage of Out of the Sun, but as battered as we've gotten already in our first shot there, That's not going to be pretty. Then we have escort, so the escort now arrives. And when the escort arrives, we put them, start on the escort display on the off map. So the escorts are going to land based on the escort display. We had light, which means we only need 5 of these markers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to set them up. 7 is going to be 2 forward, 3 below trailing. So where are those on the... Oh, we set them up here. Okay, so we go 2. 7 brings us 2 forward, 3 below trailing. Like so. Okay. Which I probably should have done that earlier, but during the escort phase, first place an escort marker on in a box adjacent to a fighter automatically moves into the fighter's box. So we... Alright, so then make an escort check. Okay, so hold on. I'm still not quite comprehending this. So first we place an escort marker on the formation map in a box adjacent to a fighter, and it automatically moves into the fighter's box. So we put the... in a map box adjacent to a fighter. Okay, wait a minute. Something... Escorts may arrive. Escort station checks on the turn of arrival. So I probably should have had that set up already for the escorts, but I'm still a little bit... Check each station that has... So check the station. Okay, so it looks like we just moved the escorts around. So we're checking the forward station. So we're checking the forward station. That will be moving... 1 will be moving 1 to the above trailing station. And then for the below trailing station, we'll be moving 1. 8 will be going to above trailing. So we'll put that there. Now we check recovery. This is probably where the mission is just going to end on the spot. So as we check recovery, we want the hits to be... we want our rolls for the hits to be above. So if less than, the hit is serious. So first up, we'll check on Dahl's hit, since he's got the best chance of surviving. He needs a 6 or higher. Which that's a 6, so his hit's trivial, thankfully, which means that one can go back into the cup. Now we need the other 5 fighters. Actually, we can check Clad next. He wants to be a 5 or higher. That's a 7, so his hit's trivial as well. He'll shake that. His plane will shake that one off. Now we get into multiple hits, and I think we're likely to lose at least some of our fighters right here. So looking at Bauer, we'll check on the fuselage hit first. That needs to be a 4 or higher to survive. That's a 10, so that one's trivial. The engine hit is not likely to be trivial, because that needs to be a 9 or a 10 to be trivial. To my lack of surprise, it is not. So Bauer moves into the engine fate box, and the hit marker goes back in the hit cup. That's unfortunate. Next we have Grim with 2 8 hits. First the cockpit. Okay, the cockpit hit's serious. That didn't take long. So those two go back in the hit cup. Then we've got 3 hits to check on Adamite. We'll check the fuselage hit first, since that's the best chance of surviving. Which he will survive the fuselage hit. How about the fuel hit? That needs to be an 8 or less. He'll survive that one as well somehow. And the cockpit needs to be a 9 or 10. Wow, he survived all 3 of his hits. Don't ask me how. All right, and then we've got 2 hits on... We've got 2 hits on Frailing. First, we'll check the fuselage hit, 5 or greater. That's a 3, so the fuselage hit is severe, which means he'll go into the fate box there. That was our recovery step. Once again, we didn't have blast and flak. Cohesion check. You need to make a cohesion check on each element, which except maneuver and attack advantage. Okay, so we've got a, hold on. Okay, so this element had 5 markers on it because that's what we were attacking. So we want to see if cohesion improves, or we want to see what happens with cohesion for that element. That's a 5. 7, I believe if it's greater, equal to or higher, cohesion remains the same or improves. So we've got that. This one has a 1 on it. That's a 5, so cohesion stays the same for them, which means those markers come off. I'll give that a quick shake up. Okay, and then that will do it for that phase. We don't have any attacks because we couldn't get anybody close enough to attack this time. So that'll bring us into mission turn 4 as we get to move. I think all of our fighters are also going to go, do I want to go evasive, or that's a temptation as well, of potentially going evasive. But I don't know if I want to do that, because we're not going to have a lot of time. We're not going to have a lot of time as it is on this mission. But we're actually running out of time very quickly on this one, so there's a temptation to not go. I don't think we're going to go evasive because I don't think we have time on this one. So I think Dahl's going to approach from high, as will Clad, and Adamite will as well. So that takes care of that. Next we have return, where everybody would have to leave return, but there's nothing there. Escort check. So we'll check in the above trailing. Where are they going? 6 will send them to the box with the most fighters. We could really have them go anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 will be a reroll. A 4 will send 1 to this box. Then for forward, 5 will move 1 to the nose level. And below trailing, 8 will move to above trailing, which means we'll have a dogfight between, right? I believe it's a dogfight between Clad and the escort. I just want to double check that. Let's see, escort check. Here it is, escort, page 19. Okay. An escort marker that starts the escort phase in a box with 1 or more fighters must remain in that box. Resolve aerial combat at the end of the escort phase. Okay, so we do resolve aerial combat here, which means that it is adjacent. Select which box. Wait a minute. An escort marker that starts the escort phase in a box adjacent to a fighter, which it's not, will automatically move into the fighter's box and initiate aerial combat. Aerial combat's resolved at the end of the escort phase. Okay. So aerial combat only takes place once during the escort phase. Resolve each combat. So we've got aerial combat. Where is the aerial combat table? It's probably hiding here somewhere. Oh, here it is. All right, so we've got a dogfight against... So we've got the escort attacking a... Do we have something attacking a Thunderbolt? Or do we have something for attacking a Thunderbolt? Or never higher. So we're considered to be higher than the escort. What is the... There should be a note in here for the type of plane, the shortcut for the type of plane the Thunderbolt is. Where in the world? Oh, it's probably in mission setup. P... No. Wait a minute. Oh, P-47. Duh, I'm blind. All right, so I do have the aerial combat table right here, which means we're going to roll a D10 for that. So I've got a P-47 chart here against a, what is that? I believe that's a BF-109, yep. So BF-109, the P-47 is not higher. That's a 2, which means the fighter's not higher. And there are no fighters than the escort. So no and no. Fighters and an escort marker exit. One fighter is destroyed, check for bailout. So it looks like Clad's destroyed, which means we have to check for if he bails out. Where is the result for if the fighter bails out? So it looks like Clad's getting destroyed. Select the fighter randomly. Roll a die to determine the pilot's fate. It's a destroyed result. Where do we check the result on the aerial combat table? Where does... Oh! Check for bailout. Okay, never mind. Now that we got that straight. The question is if he bails out. So we want a 9 or a 10 for him to bail out. That's an 8, so he'll bail out, but he's wounded. So that's Clad. Which means he'll have to sit out a mission, assuming I continue this playthrough. So Clad is out of the fight, which means I'll put him off to the side. Then the escort will stay there. And I think we checked for all 3 of the escort stations, so that's done. We would have recovery, but nobody's taken a hit. Blast and flak. Cohesion check again, so this element wants to be a 3 or higher. Which that's a 6. This one should be we should be able to roll a 1 easily. Yes, we do. Okay. Now we go into the attack phase. So we approach. Dahl will come at the element that he's been after from the nose. We'll bring Adamite at the same one from the tail. And those are the only 2 that we had, which is rather unfortunate, but there's no help for that at this point. So we're going to assign, before we assign maneuvers, I need to take a small break. Okay, I need to back up a little bit because apparently the flak occurs every turn, not just the once, since this is a near target mission. So since I've got... Okay, so we're looking at this formation map, which means I'm going to be using this chart in the situation manual. So now we need to roll for where the flak is. That's a 9, which means nobody gets hit. So that's a relief. Actually, wait a second. We actually have nose and tail, so both Doll and Adamite get hit. From the looks of it, yes. Looks like they both get hit, which is unfortunate. So we're drawing hit markers out of here. So Doll first will get a pretty minor fuselage hit from the flak. And Adamite will take a more serious rudder hit. That's a problem. I'm not going to bother re-rolling for cohesion because those are low enough that we probably didn't need, that we're probably not going to be able to break up their cohesion anyway. So we approach, then we have the engage. We don't have to roll for collision because we only have one fighter in the Okay, so we need 2 blocks for each of them. We need 2 blue blocks for each of them because they're both coming out of high altitude boxes. So we get 2 boxes for the both of them. And 2 for Adamite. Okay. All right, we're going to leave them both in determined mode. Then we're going to select maneuvers for both of them. They're I think, going to both have to dive. We'll have Doll just take a regular dive, and Adamite's going to take a roll dive on this one. And we don't, like I said, we don't have to check for collision because we don't have 2 or more fighters in the space. We got them both split up. We don't have any advantages because we actually had a swarm advantage earlier, but I didn't take advantage of it. And we're attacking from more than one altitude and position. We're both attacking from high, but we are attacking from different positions. So we don't get any benefit there. So we'll draw for Doll's attack first. That's a nose on high with a lethal level of 2. Lethal level 2 high. So we'll have to move 3 spaces, but we draw a damage result and a hit. So we'll draw the damage result first for the bomber. Which will be a wing result, so we want that to be higher than a 9 to destroy actually we want that to be a 10 to destroy the element. That's a 4, so it doesn't destroy the element, which will flip that over into another 2 hit, but he is going to get a hit marker as well. So we'll draw a hit marker, another hit marker. That's unfortunate. That's a bigger hit, so we might not survive that one. Oop. That'll be a bit of a problem there. And then for, who is that? That's for Adamite's hit. He's coming from the... Actually, he's going to just take a straight dive. So Adamite coming from the tail with a lethal level of 2 and high. High 2... Oh, he's got to move... he was coming from the nose, so he's got to move 3 spaces through. 2, 3, right about there. And then looking at Adamite, lethal level 2 from high, takes another hit, but he'll draw one for the... But he'll draw a damage marker for the bomber that they've been working over. So he'll draw a damage marker. 7 or up, and the element will fall out of formation. Actually, that's higher than 7, which that's a 5, so it won't, but that'll flip over into another 0. But Adamite's got to draw for another hit. Another wing hit. This one I think is just as severe as potentially problematic as the rudder hit. So now we've got to draw for continuing fire for both of them. We'll draw for Adamite first. His continuing fire. He'll be taking another hit. If climbing or climb rolling, which he's diving, he'll break away. He would break away to tail. But like I said, he's actually breaking away to no. He's actually diving to nose, so he'll go to low return, which means those blocks can go away, as can the maneuver. And he's going to take another hit. That's a fuselage hit. I'm willing to bet that we're going to probably end the mission here. And then for Dahl's return fire, or continuing fire, he's going to get hit again. If diving, which I believe he is, he's going to change to evasive mode. But if he was already in evasive mode, skip continuing fire. But he's going to be taking another hit. Which will be a rudder hit this time. He'll switch to evasive and break away to he was on nose, so he'll break away to tail on an evasive return. That maneuver will come back. These two blocks will come back as well. And then we'll be into mission turn 5 next. Yep, we flipped him over to evasive. So move, except both of our fighters have hit markers, so they can't move. Return. Adamite moves up to the low approach, moves up to the low level. Then Dahl actually moves to the return box because he was evasive at the end of continuing fire. Then we check for escort, the one at above trailing. The die is in there. 6 will move him to the box with the most fighters. We could choose either one. Odds will go after Adamite. Evens will go after Dahl. Evens will go after Dahl. Does that go to return? Actually, we have no fighters, so that actually doesn't do... No fighters in... Actually, I take that back. We do have Adamite in a box, so he'll go there. Then that would be the end of the escort box, or the... Actually, we have below trailing to check for as well. 5 will send him to tail low. So it'll be an escort waiting for... That would be an escort waiting for Dahl in the low-level box, assuming we survive the recovery phase, which is coming up now. So Adamite's got 3... Do we resolve? I don't think we resolve air combat now. Actually, we might resolve air combat now. Escorts have had a chance to move. Yes, we do, actually. So we'll resolve combat here. The P-40... I believe we established the P-47s. Okay, so fighter higher than the escort. Fighter's not higher than the escort. and there are not more fighters than the escort. So we'll roll on our aerial combat table once again, pulling a 1, which means the fighters exit. Escort marker returns to below trailing. So the escort marker goes back to below trailing, and the fighter will exit. So I believe that means he's just out of the scenario. Right? Yeah, so it looks like he'll exit. Actually, that doesn't move him back to return, does it? I'm still looking here. I think the fighters just exit, so I think Adamite is out of the mission. We'll still roll for his recovery to see what happens with his hits, which is coming up now. First, we'll roll for the fuselage hit. He needs a 5 or higher. That's a 2, so that fuselage hit is serious, which will move him into the fate box. And Dahl is also facing a few hits. We'll roll for the fuselage hit as he's most likely to survive that one. A 3, he'll survive that. Rudder wants to be a 5 or higher. 5 or higher will do. And fuel is 8 or higher, which a 7 is not. So that's a serious hit there. And just like that, we've got all our fighters exited or in fate boxes, so let's roll for their fates. Of my 6 fighters, 5 ended up in fate boxes, which is not great at all for continuing this campaign. But we're going to roll for fates on all of them. So I'm going to roll the red die for the fate on the plane, and then a black die in case we did go into needing to figure out if the pilot bailed out. So Bauer looking at an engine hit for a BF-109. 1 says the plane exploded, and 4 says he didn't bail out, so he's dead. So Bauer with engine exploded. And then exploded, took him with. So Bauer's dead. Grimm took a cockpit hit, so we'll do the same thing here. BF-109. Let's see, 2 is on fire, and a 1, he's also dead. So it looks like a bullet got through to the cockpit and took him out. So Grimm's dead as well. Adamite with a fuselage hit. Let's see what happens here. Adamite managed to get it back down on the ground, so we don't need to worry about him. He'll be back in the mission, so he earns 1 experience point. So he'll be back to fly. Frailing up next. 6 says he crashed, but he was able to bail out. So he'll earn an experience. So he'll continue to fly. And looking at Dahl, who had fuel problems in a BF-109. Red says the plane exploded, which is not a surprise at all on a fuel hit, and he didn't bail out. So Dahl takes a fuel tank explosion. And it killed him, to the lack of my surprise. But that will do it for this playthrough of Skies Above the Reich. Of our 6 pilots that we sent up, 3 will be available. Well, 2 of them will be able to fly on our next mission, but One is wounded, so I'll have to set out the next mission. I'm also not sure if I'm going to continue this playthrough on the channel or not. I do welcome feedback in the comment section down below. I've definitely made I'm sure I made a lot of rules mistakes in this one. So be nice in the comments section, please. I realize I was living in rulebooks a lot. But that will do it for this playthrough of Skies Above the Reich. Later this afternoon, I'm expecting to continue the GMT Games debut day as we debut Silent Victory, going from the air war to the sub war. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.